It cost me $6 to make 2 of these, and that does sound really good, and I used them for quite a long time. It works really well, but there's kind of 2 major drawbacks to this. The first being you have to mount your light horizontally on this plate right here, so you have to find a light that actually is capable of doing that. The light I used is the R-Best Dual Halo. I'll link it in the description below. The second drawback is that once you do mount the light here, at least the R-Best Dual Halos, there's no up and down adjustment. You can only adjust it left and right. I've used it for about 2 months and it works awesome. Compared to other designs that I tried just using this bottom bracket right here and putting it on the bottom of the fork mounts, and that was fine also, but this wasn't strong enough, so it kind of shook the light a little bit. It was very annoying. The second, I used the reflector mount on the bottom fork clamp. Second, I used the reflector mount on the lower fork clamp, and I actually moved that to the top, and I mounted my lights to that, and that worked really well for a little while too, but it was just a little too flimsy and it bent on me, and I just had to find another solution. This actually mounts to the top and the bottom mounting brackets for your forks. That way it is very sturdy when it's on your bike, and there's absolutely no compromises. The only issue that I ran into is that it's just a little bit more difficult to get the headlight off and on the bike, which I really don't do too often anyways. But it works well when you turn the handlebars. It doesn't smack up against the plastics or anything like that. This really is the best solution that I could find, so I'm going to show you how to make it. Much. All you're going to need is an aluminum flat bar, 36 inches long, 3/4 inches wide, and 1/8 of an inch thick. You can get this from Home Depot for less than $6. Next, you need a tape measure, a marker, there can be any marker, a drill, and this is for drilling the holes for the bolts to go through, and the bolt on your bike is actually an M8, so the drill bit size that you're going to be using is about 5/16 or slightly larger. You'll need a vise to hold it for when you're cutting it and bending, as well as a 10mm socket, a ratchet, and an extension. And the last thing you need is a torque wrench. Okay, so you're actually going to start by taking the 36-inch aluminum bar, your tape measure, measuring out a little bit past 16 inches. You're going to take your marker and you're going to mark it at 2.5 inches, 5 inches, 8 inches, 12.5 inches, and 16 inches. After that, you're going to clamp it into your vise. You're going to put your blue mark just above where the vise teeth grab, and you're going to bend it to just over 90 degrees. Try and keep it as straight as possible when you're doing this. Your second bend, do the same thing, and then you're going to end up bending this one to just under 90 degrees. The exact measurements won't matter too much, as we're going to fix it before we put it on the bike. Your third bend is going to be right at 90 degrees. Your final bend is going to be just under 90 degrees. This one you're going to want to try and line up the top and the bottom. The angles should be roughly the same when you go to bend it. These are the actual parts that mount to the bike. Mine was a little bent, so I just went ahead and locked it in the vise and tried to make it straight. I then cut it using a Dremel, and I just broke the rest of it off. And there you have it. Next, you're going to need your block of wood, your drill, a hammer, a punch to mark where you're going to be drilling the holes at, and a drill bit, a 5/16 inch drill bit. first thing you're going to do is line it up. So the bolt heads are actually a 1/4 of an inch wide. So I actually started a 1/4 of an inch down from the top and then marked it at the 6-inch mark. And then the bolts are from center to center exactly 3/4 of an inch apart. Now notice how I'm coming off of the right side. When you go to do this, you're actually going to want to offset the holes to the side of which you're mounting it on the bike. So if you want to mount it onto the right side, your holes are going to be offset to the right. When you go to drill your holes, just make sure they're in line. Do the same thing with the other side. This time, because it's flipped over, I'm moving it on the left side, but just make sure that they're offset in the same direction that the lower holes are, as you can see here. A 1/4 of an inch from one side. So I would just like to give a little bit better of an explanation of this bracket itself. So the top piece is going to be the longer piece. This is the one that bolts on to the top fork clamp. The shorter piece goes on the bottom. When you're cutting the holes to mount it on your bike, let's say this is going on the right side of the bike as you're sitting on the bike. So your hole is actually going to be a 1/4 of an inch away from the right side of this bracket and a 1/4 inch down from the top of the bracket. So it's going to be offset a little bit. So you want it to be offset in the direction that you're mounting it to. So this one is going to be offset on the right side because it's going on the right side. If this is going on the left side, I want the hole to be offset from the left side. Go ahead and take off your top and bottom fork mount bolts. This is actually the old mount that I was used. It was made out of steel, so it started rusting a little bit, and that's why I decided to make these out of aluminum. Line your bracket up that you made, and you may have to bend it outwards, inwards a little bit. You're gonna have to tweak it just to get it to line up. Put your bolts in, tighten them down, and then once you get them tightened down, you can go ahead and loosen them up. This should be a very well bent light mount now. And you are done with the first one. So now we're moving on to the second one. You're going to do exactly the same process as we did with the first one. Grab your tape measure, measure out just above 16 inches. You're going to again put the marks at 2.5 inches, 5 inches, 8 inches, 12.5 inches, and 16 inches. Do the bends in the exact same order, starting at the 2.5 inch mark, and this time use the light mount that you just made to line up this one. The goal here is to try and get them exactly perfect together, as close as they can be. That way your lights look uniform on your bike. I put mine in the vise. This got very difficult the more that I bent it because my vise had a hard time holding on to both, so I ended up just holding it next to it. Just make sure it's as straight as possible, and you can get the best bend that you can get. Once you're finished, you're gonna cut off the excess. And then there you have it, two almost identical. They're close enough. You're going to do the same thing with the other one, a 1/4 inch down, 3/4 inches apart, and a 1/4 inch from the side that you're offsetting on. This one is going to be exactly opposite that the other one was, since it's going on the left side of the bike. You may have to bend it a little bit to get it on there, but you can actually go ahead and tighten down both sides, and you can torque your bolts to about 24 foot-pounds. Something else that I didn't really explain, When I went to drill the hole for my light, I did it while it was on the bike. I did it roughly in the center, a little bit above where the center is, just because it kind of made a bend and I was able to aim my light in a different direction where I wanted it to be. The reason I didn't show you that is because I'm actually working on another mount, and it's actually on the screen right now. Kind of my reasoning behind this one is that I wanted to clear up some space on my handlebars. I wanted to move the phone back a little bit. I wanted to move my controls back a little bit. In a future GPS, I wanted to move back so it's not all right up against my chest while I'm riding. I also wanted to get my lights up a little higher, and this way they can actually mount vertically, and I can aim them up and down, left and right, however I want. I am working on this right now, and it actually is compatible with the bracket that I just showed you how to make. So that'd be really cool if I end up getting that figured out, and I can let you guys know how to build that as well. This is the first generation of it, and I'm still working on getting it to be a little bit more sturdy. I'm thinking about mounting it to the handlebars. But I'll let you guys know when I get that figured out. Well, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. If I helped you out in some way, you can help me out by hitting that subscribe button. Leave a comment if you hated it. Leave a comment if you liked it. Give me suggestions for what you'd like to see in the upcoming videos. And also, I need suggestions for this next light mount. I'm having a very hard time keeping it sturdy. But I'll see you in the next one.